What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Game week 29 is still going, still plenty of double game week fixtures to go, but today we are having a look at my first transfer plans ahead of game week 30. Welcome back, everyone. FPL Harry here, and today, as I said, it is game week 30 time. We're going to be having a look at my first transfer plans. Of course, let me know how you've got on so far in game week 29. Are you on a green, red arrow? How many points you are on so far? I'm recording just before half time in the Manchester United versus Newcastle game. It's currently being very dominated by Newcastle, but it is still 0-0. Before we go any further, before we dive into this, we're going to try and hit 1,000 likes on the video. And I know I've said it for about a week, but we are really close now to that 50,000 subscriber target. So if you haven't subscribed already, please make sure you go and do so after watching this video. So looking at my current lineup for game week 30, we do play a 3-5-2 this week. Now, anyone who watched my deadline stream knows that it was very chaotic for me and I ended up taking a -12 last week. So I now have no Harry Kane, I have no Erling Haaland, and I also have no Mo Salah. I have no premium in my team now. Kepa is going to start in goal, I think, away at Wolves, along with Ben Chilwell. However, Chelsea defensively have not been that great, so I am potentially considering starting Rico Henry, for example, who is sat on my bench, who does have Newcastle at home going into game week 30. But at the moment, even though Chelsea did concede 2 goals, Chilwell did look really good, so he is still starting, and I'm going with Kepa over Raya at the moment. Then we have new transfer Luke Shaw, Everton at home, along with 2 other Manchester United players in Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes. Fernandes and Shaw were part of that -12. They were definitely going to come in. Need some points for them in either today's game or the rest of the game week 29 fixtures that we do have. Trippier starts. We're currently starting both March and Matoma, with Maddison, new manager Maddison, potentially being in my midfield. We do know that Leicester have sacked Brendan Rodgers, which I think can only be good news for James Maddison and other Leicester assets. And then up front, it's Ollie Watkins and Ivan Toney, with Nottingham Forest at home and Newcastle at home. Dominic Solanke is first on my bench with Leicester away, which I think is an absolutely okay fixture. He did very well, got 9 points for me in that first part of game week 29. Very happy with that. Let's see what damage Harry Kane can do. Now, the big talking point of my team, of course, is there's not a real standout captaincy option. I could put it on one of the Manchester United boys, but of course, Ivan Toney to Erling Haaland was the predicted transfer, but it looks like he might not necessarily be available. So, as I said, the predicted transfer going into game week 30 was always going to be Ivan Toney for Erling Haaland. Now, Ivan Toney is 1 yellow card away from picking up that 2-match suspension, and a lot of us presumed he'd get it in game week 29 or even game week 28. He didn't get booked in game week 28. He hasn't been booked in the first part of game week 29 and only has 1 game left in theory to still be available for game week 30, where he does play against Newcastle. Game week 31 is Wolves, and I probably will be looking to make the switch at some point, even if he doesn't pick up that 2-match suspension. Erling Haaland is likely to be a very highly captained option if he is available for game week 30. And even if Toney isn't banned and Haaland is available, I do think I will make the switch. But it's really important to be considering actually how many matches do we think Erling Haaland is going to play over the next few game weeks. If Haaland is back fit, I probably will move for him, as I said, just because of that captaincy going into game week 30. But what's worth considering is between game week 30 and 31, and then in theory between game week 31 and game week 32, Manchester City have those 2 fixtures against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. And if Erling Haaland has a little bit of an injury, if he is carrying that groin injury that kept him out of game week 29, it does bode not very well for him starting both games in game week 30 and game week 31. Now, as I said, if Haaland is cleared fit, I will probably have to make the move sideways, because a lot of people will be looking to go back in on Haaland, and from game week 33 onwards anyway, I want him. He doubles in game week 34 anyway, so I will want to buy Erling Haaland back. But as I said, there is part of me that just wonders exactly how many times he's going to start in game weeks 30 and 31, given he might have this knock, this ongoing injury, and they have the 2 really important Champions League fixtures in between game week 30 and 31, and then 31 and 32 as well. So then we look at potential transfers that I could do this week if I don't go and buy Erling Haaland this week. I'm not going to make 2 transfers. So if I buy Erling Haaland this week and if he's fit and available, then I'm not going to go and take another -4. I've taken enough of those recently, and I think 1 transfer is plenty this week. I might end up even rolling the transfer if Erling Haaland is not going to be available. As it says, I've got 11.8 million in the bank, probably more money than I've ever had in the bank playing FPL. So I can basically make any transfer that I want. I can actually, in theory, just buy Harry Kane and have an extra man in my squad. That's how much money I've got in the bank. But potential other transfers that I could make if Erling Haaland is injured and not going to be back available for next week. I wasn't impressed with Leicester, and I didn't like James Maddison's performance very much, losing to Crystal Palace. Now, if they look better against Aston Villa and they have a new manager, the Bournemouth home fixture in Game Week 30 is one that I will likely just have to give him, and I'll likely have to keep him in my squad for that one, even if I don't necessarily see him scoring a lot of FPL points. Now, I always planned in Game Week 31 to go for James Maddison when he goes away to Manchester City, to Mo Salah when he does go away to Leeds. Now, in theory, if I'm really unimpressed with the way that we are seeing Leicester perform in that Aston Villa game or under the new manager, I could make that move a week early, even though Arsenal at home is a more difficult fixture for Mo Salah. But we do know that Mo Salah and Liverpool are very poor away from home, but they look much, much better at home at Anfield, and they do have a home fixture against Arsenal. Now, Arsenal look great, and I probably expect them to win that, but Mo Salah is continuing to perform okay, even when the teammates around him are not necessarily doing so. So Maddison to Salah is probably not a transfer I'll do in Game Week 30, but it's almost penciled in for Game Week 31 to move from Maddison when he plays City to go in Mo Salah. Now, if Ivan Toney picks up a suspension and I don't think Erling Haaland is going to be back fit and available, I could go to Harry Kane. So I sold Harry Kane this week to buy Dominic Solanke. Still TBC about whether that pays off, because Harry Kane, of course, goes away to Everton on the Monday night fixture in Game Week 29. However, I could buy Harry Kane back. Brighton at home, Bournemouth at home in the next two. When I sold him for -4, I did know that there would be those two fixtures in the next two that would be a bit of a problem for me, and I would have to go without him when he's likely to be very highly owned and very highly captained. If I don't think Erling Haaland's going to be back for Game Week 30 or even Game Week 31, I could just go from Toney to Harry Kane, keep Dominic Solanke, then maybe move from Kane to Erling Haaland after my free hit, which is going to be played in Game Week 32. So if, again, we don't have Haaland back, Toney could just go to Harry Kane if Toney picks up that yellow card suspension. And the final one is a boring one, but it is actually one I've potentially penciled in for Game Week 34. I could just bring it forward a couple of weeks if I'm not that certain on the Chelsea defence and with the fixtures that we do see for Brentford going forward, particularly from a defensive point of view. And that is selling David Raya to go and buy Ederson of Manchester City. Now, Manchester City doubling Game Week 34, which none of my current goalkeepers do. Raya does have Nottingham Forest at home that week, so if I don't find a transfer to go and buy Ederson, it's not the end of the world. But from Game Week 34 onwards, they do have a really nice run of fixtures, plus doubling in Game Week 37 to be predicted as well, with their Game Week 32 fixture that is, of course, a blank, to be moved into Game Week 37. So I could potentially move David Raya to Ederson. Ederson does have that Southampton fixture, just doing it a little bit earlier than I planned on if I don't have anything else to do this week. However, again, looking at the fixtures that we've got, I don't necessarily think it's worthwhile doing it this week when I am just playing Kepa away at Wolves. So I will have to leave my transfer and leave anything I do to my team right up until the Game Week 30 deadline, because I'm waiting on injury news for Erling Haaland. I'm waiting to see whether we think Erling Haaland is going to be available and fit enough to start. It is very important I think he's going to start this one and likely to start in Game Week 31 as well. It will also depend on whether Ivan Toney picks up a yellow card in the remaining fixture that he has against Manchester United in Game Week 29. So Toney to Erling Haaland is the transfer that I'm penciling in, that I'm looking at, and is what I'm most likely to do this week. However, I look elsewhere in my team. I could do Toney to Harry Kane if Haaland's not going to be fit. I could potentially also move James Maddison to Mo Salah, invest a bit of money, or go and buy Ederson in goal if I'm not that sold on my goalkeepers this week. But as I said, I think 50% chance if Erling Haaland's fit, then I'll go there. The other 50% is probably I'll end up rolling a transfer unless Ivan Toney does pick up that 10th yellow card and pick up a suspension as well. So this is my team. Let me know what you think. Let me know any questions you have about Game Week 30 onward. We have just 9 game weeks left this season. It is really crunch time. Any questions you have, any thoughts, any comments, drop it all in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. 1,000 likes on the video. Can we hit 50,000 subscribers? I'll be back again very soon.